Hello, everyone. Welcome to the KC conversation. Life can be challenging, and there are times when this could lead to an extremely unfortunate situation where you could feel depressed and even suicidal. So, this series is meant to help people in situations like this. So, this video is essentially a precursor to the video which deals with suicide. So, this video talks about all the events that led to this kind of a dangerous situation. So during 2017, my mother was sick for a very long time. Although her cancer had relapsed and she happened to be in one of the advanced stages. So there was nothing much we could do, and there was a lot of negativity in our family. And at the same time, I happened to take a new position in my company. So a new position opened up, and I thought this was a way for me to advance my career. And I didn't want to lose the opportunity, so I applied for the job. I passed the interview, and I started working in the new position, obviously in my same company. And I assumed that I could do it quite effectively, although the position required a lot more than what I was expecting, and I couldn't deal with it effectively, and it was all overwhelming, and it required a lot of commitment that I was not ready to give. So that was one of the reasons I could not perform this new role well. And to add to this, I was in the final years of my master's degree, and during these last few months of my master's degree, there was a lot of reports and assignments and projects that I was involved in, which demanded a lot of my time and energy and effort. And I didn't want to slack back when it came to my degree because it was expensive, and I wanted to put everything I had into it. So I did so. But all these things happening together took a serious toll on me. So this effectively led to me having a mental breakdown, and my relationships were suffering, and I started isolating myself from my friends and my family members because I thought that they couldn't really understand what I was going through. And I tried explaining, but then it didn't make sense to them. It didn't make sense to me explaining to them. So I just started isolating myself from everyone and, trying to get this thing done by myself. So eventually, this led to me having acute depression. And that's when I started feeling that life was not worth living. And I had these thoughts about ending my life. And eventually I started planning for it because I started taking these thoughts quite seriously. And although I knew it's morally uh, wrong to think like this and it's not responsible, I still uh, kept thinking this way, and I I wasn't thinking rationally because that's what happens when you're isolated and you're depressed. You do not think like a normal human being. You do not think rationally. And luckily for me, it just happened that my insurance company, I mean, the company that uh, provides the insurance for me, sent out a company-wide email about having a toll-free number that you could call up in case you're depressed. So I was pleasantly surprised because I felt like there's an option for me over here, and I thought that I need to explore this option before I go ahead because I owe it to myself and the people in my life because they've invested so much in me. I have financial responsibilities and I have commitments to these people in my life. So I thought I owe it to everyone, including myself, to explore this option of calling up this helpline and listening to what they had to say. And that's what I did. I called up the helpline, and I think it was late at night. And I spoke to this woman. A nice lady picked up the phone, and I spoke to her for almost 3 hours. She handled the situation very well. In fact, it was quite surgical. She she explained to me about how I should not deal with this alone. She helped me figure out a plan. She heard everything in my what about what was troubling me, and she empathized and gave me reasons to why this may have happened and why I'm not crazy to feel like this. So the first thing she asked me to do was to find a date which was close to that time and inform my family and close friends, because it was not right and it's not ethical that I should deal with this by myself. So very shortly, I informed my family. It was my dad's birthday. We were at a restaurant, and although it was not the right place and the right time, I had to do it because I didn't know another time when all of us would be together. So I spoke to everybody about it. I told them what this woman told me to say. I informed my brother and my father and my wife and my sister-in-law, all of us who were there at that table. And they took it quite sportingly. Of course, there's no right way to do it, and you can't get a nice reaction out of people. It's obviously going to be jarring, and it's not easy. It's not easy to listen to as well. But these people who I spoke to, all of them are quite strong and are quite accomplished in their own way. And they know that life is not easy. So they heard me out. They acknowledged what I was going through. And I think they made a decision amongst themselves to be supportive and to be kind. And I think this is quite important. This is like the breakthrough moment when you realize that you're not alone in this. And in the course of the next few months, I told my friends, and I had their support as well. So I had the support of my family and of my friends, and they kept checking with me to know how I was doing. I think one thing to know about this specific kind of approach is to not tell somebody who already has a lot of problems. So, in case you're dealing, so somebody in your family or your friends group or someone who's close to you already has a lot of their own problems, I suggest don't bring them into this kind of a situation, because this takes a lot out of these people. So, if you need their help, they should be able to help themselves first. So I would recommend you approach family members and friends who have their act together and who are not going through anything too serious and too uh, hard in their own lives. Okay, so back to where we were. So once all this happens, and once I told my family and friends, and they were being supportive, and things started to get better, I noticed that every time a challenging situation came up or a difficult situation came up, it would start to bring back these feelings of suicide. And I think the way to look at it is like PTSD, where where your feelings of feeling scared and depressed and suicidal, they relapse. And if I'm trying to make sense of this, I can say that because you're emotionally broken and you need time to heal. So when something hard comes up, you're not completely healed. So when you're not completely healed, you can't really defend yourself, and deal with the situation like a strong, normal person would. So you need time, which could be months or even years, to completely heal from this situation. And you should take your own pace, and you should understand that this is a time consuming uh, effort. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of strength, and it takes a lot of courage. And you need to be consciously working on building your personality back from this kind of a situation. You should not expect too much of out of yourself, and you should accept how things are around you. You can't control everything in your life. You should not want to control everything in your life. And you should understand that things will get better, because things usually do get better, because none of us live in a vacuum. And that's how I think you can get out of this situation effectively. So this is where I will conclude this video, and in the next video I'll talk about how to deal with suicidal feelings and the processes involved with that kind of a situation. So thank you for watching the KC conversation, and have a nice day.